Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And today we will be studying Adilila chapter 13, texts 72 onwards. The Advent of Lord Chaitanya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सह गणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Just a second. Just a second. I'm trying to change the layout of the screen here. Just a second. Give me about 1-2 minutes. I actually tried to set it up before coming live, but I could not. So I contacted the customer support, and they've shown me something. Now I'm trying to do that. Okay, I think. Okay. Okay, never mind. Just trying something, but okay, never mind. We'll start with our reading. So, chapter 13, text 72. So, in 71, we finished at the point where Advaita Acharya, by his loud cries, he invited Krishna to appear as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this repeated invitation attracted Lord Krishna to descend. Then 72. Jagannath Mishra Patni Shachira Udare Ashtakanya Krame Hoilo Janmi Janmi More. Just a second again. Before the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 8 daughters took birth one after another from the womb of Shachimata, the wife of Jagannath Mishra. But just after their birth, they all died. So this is quite a trying circumstance. 8 daughters just died like that after birth. So I mean, even for a person as great as Sachimata, she went through this. Sometimes we think, oh, we are devotee, then we don't have to go through anything. Krishna will arrange everything for us, and we will have this nice cruiser, nice cruise through life. Not so. Um, in fact, devotees should be praying for such strength that Gurunape Vicharlete, that even in the greatest of trials and tribulations, I should not be shaken in my devotion. So, next, apatya virahe mishrer dukhe hoilaman putra lagi aradhilo Vishnu racharan. Jagannath Mishra was very unhappy at the death of his children one after another. Therefore, desiring a son, he worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. तबे पुत्र जन्म मिला विश्वरूप नाम महागुणवान तेहो बलदेव धाम. After this, Jagannath Mishra got a son of the name Vishvarupa, who was most powerful and highly qualified because he was an incarnation of Baladev. Now we know that Nityananda Prabhu is an incarnation of Baladev, but Vishvarupa, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother, is also an incarnation of Baladev, but he did not play a very, very significant role in the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita purport. Vishwarup was the elder brother of Gaurahari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When arrangements were being made for the marriage of Vishwarup, he took sannyas and left home. He took the sannyas name of Shankararanya. In 1431 Shakabda era, that is 1509 AD, he disappeared in Pandharpur in the district of Sholapur in Maharashtra. As an incarnation of Sankarshan, he is both the ingredient and immediate cause of the creation of this material world. He is non-different from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the Amsha and the Amshi, or the part and the whole, are non-different, are not different. As an incarnation of Sankarshan, Vishwarup belongs to the quadruple manifestation of Chaturvyuha. In the Gaura Chandrodaya, it is said that Vishwarup, after his so-called demise, remained mixed within Sri Nityananda Prabhu. बलदेव प्रकाश परम व्योमे संकर्षण तेहो विश्वर उपादान निमित्त कारण. The expansion of Baladev, known as Sankarshan, in the spiritual world is the ingredient and immediate cause of this material cosmic manifestation. One second. ताहा बाई विश्व किछु नाहि देखियार अतएव विश्वरूप नाम ये ताहार. The gigantic universal form is called the Vishvarupa incarnation of Mahasankarshan. Thus, we do not find anything within this cosmic manifestation except the Lord Himself. The universal form Vishvarupa is nothing but Sankarshan, Mahasankarshan. नैतच्चित्रं भगवति हि अनन्ते जगदीश्वरे ओतं प्रोतं इदं यस्मिन् तन्तुष् Shvanga yatha pataham. As the threads in a cloth spread both lengthwise and breadthwise, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists directly and indirectly within everything we see in this cosmic manifestation. This is not very wonderful for him. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:15-35. One second. I think this camera is a bit tilted. Okay, I'm actually chatting with the support system, the support people, so it is kind of a little bit of a distraction there. So, one more thing here is the length and breadth of the cloth. So, that means how to make cloth is already understood since millions of years ago. Not that, a few thousand years ago, man knew how to make cloth, and until then he was naked, and no, it's quite very advanced. All the way we see everywhere that the Lord is wearing silk cloth. They know even how to make silk from silkworms, and all these things are already known since millions and trillions of years. अतएव प्रभु तारे बोले बड़ा भाई कृष्ण बलराम द्वे चैतन्य निताय. Because Mahasankarshan is the ingredient and efficient cause of the cosmic manifestation, he is present in every detail of it. Lord Chaitanya therefore called him his elder brother. The two brothers are known as Krishna and Balaram in the spiritual world, but at the present moment they are Chaitanya and Nitai. Therefore, the conclusion is that Nityananda Prabhu is the original Sankarshan Baladev. Every detail of it, Krishna is there. पुत्र पाया दंपति होइला आनंदित मान विशेष सेवन करे गोविंद चरण. The husband and wife Jagannath Mishra and Shachimata, having gotten Vishvarupa as their son, were very pleased within their minds. Because of their pleasure, they specifically began to serve the lotus feet of Govinda. Purport: there is a common saying in India that everyone goes to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he is in distress. But when a person is in an opulent position, he forgets God. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.16, this is confirmed. Chaturvidha bhajante maam janaha sukritino arjuna arto jigyasura artharthi jnani cha bharatarshabha. If backed by pious activities in the past, four kinds of men, namely those who are distressed, those in need of money, those searching after knowledge, and those who are inquisitive, become interested in devotional service. The husband and wife, Jagannath Mishra and Shachimata, were very unhappy because their 8 daughters had passed away. Now, when they got Vishvarupa as their son, certainly they became extremely happy. They knew that it was by the grace of the Lord that they were endowed with such happiness and opulence. Therefore, instead of forgetting the Lord, they became more and more adherent in devotion in rendering service to the lotus feet of Govinda. When a common man becomes opulent, he forgets God, but the more opulent a devotee becomes by the grace of the Lord, the more he becomes attached to the service of the Lord. And this is seen in the life of Sudama Vipra. Even when he became very opulent, he never diminished his service. चौदशत छय शके शेष माघ मासे जगन्नाथ सचिर देह कृष्णेर प्रवेशे. In the month of January in the year 1406 of the Shaka era or 1485 AD, Lord Krishna entered the bodies of both Jagannath Mishra and Shachi. Purport: Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his birth in the year 1407 Shaka era Shakabda or 1486 AD in the month of Phalguna. But here we see that he entered the bodies of his parents in the year 1406 in the month of Magha, which is 1485 AD. Therefore, the Lord entered the bodies of his parents 13 full months before his birth. Generally, a common child remains within the womb of his mother for 10 lunar months, but here we see that the Lord remained within the body of his mother for 13 months. मिश्र कहे शचि स्थाने देखियान रीता ज्योतिर्मय देह गेह लक्ष्मी अधिष्ठिता. Jagannath Mishra said to Shachimata, I see wonderful things. Your body is effulgent and appears as if the goddess of fortune were now staying personally in my home. So, when she was bearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she became very bright. So, similarly, any devotee who becomes Krishna conscious, he naturally becomes very bright because he becomes happy, he becomes connected with Krishna, and his natural glow becomes to manifest. That's why Prabhupada's disciples in America, um, people used to comment, "Oh, they're very bright-faced." You know? जहाँ तहाँ सर्वलोक करो ये सम्मान घरे पठाइया दे धन वस्त्र धान. Anywhere and everywhere I go, all people offer me respect. Even without my asking, they voluntarily give me riches, clothing, and paddy. Purport. A Brahmana does not become anyone's servant. To render service to someone else is the business of Shudras. A Brahmana is always independent because he is a teacher, spiritual master, and advisor to society. The members of society provide him with all the necessities of life. Now, there is a conflict of interest if I take remuneration from those whom I try to advise. Because if I take remuneration, then I have to please that person. And I may get attached to such remuneration, and to keep receiving such remuneration, I should not be uh, what is that offending that person, because otherwise he will stop his contribution. So in that way, I am not independent, and if I am not independent, I cannot really instruct. Why the sannyasis, the brahmacharis, I mean those who are renounced, why the householders should go to them to receive instructions? Because they can frankly instruct. Whereas one who is attached, he has to consider many things. Like previously, a husband used to be able to. 1 second. The husband used to be able to instruct the wife. Nowadays, I have seen, I mean, many. The husband, if he has to tell his wife, you know, he has to consider a lot of things. Um, a war will erupt. Rama and Mahabharata, World War III will start. So he cannot really tell frankly what he wants to really say. But if a brahmachari or a sannyasi or somebody who's renounced, he can frankly say, because he does not have that attachment. He has the luxury of not having that attachment, and therefore he can properly instruct. So that's why those who are attached, they should associate with those who are detached. Hmm. So otherwise there's conflict of interest. If I'm not independent, then there will be conflict. Of course, people should give contributions to the Brahmanam, but he should not depend on a few people for his sustenance. He should not depend on those contributions for sustenance. If they don't give, he should just be content with whatever he gets, whatever he can receive by the grace of the Lord. And that's why a Brahmana, he does not take pay. Even though, like Chanakya Pandit, he was a prime minister for his king, but he never took salary. So that's how Brahmana operates. The members of society provide him with all the necessities of life. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says he has divided society into four divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. A society cannot run smoothly without this scientific division. This is the point. A society cannot run smoothly without this scientific division. A Brahmana should give good advice to all the members of society. A Kshatriya should look after the administration, maintaining law and order in society. Vaishyas should produce and trade to meet all the needs of society, whereas the Shudras should render service to the higher sections of society, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Jagannath Mishra was a Brahmana. Therefore, people would send him all bodily necessities: money, cloth, grain, and so on. While Lord Chaitanya was in the womb of Sachimata, Jagannath Mishra received all these necessities of life without asking for them. Because of the presence of the Lord in his family, everyone offered him due respect as a Brahmana. In other words, if a Brahmana or Vaishnava sticks to his position as an eternal servant of the Lord and executes the will of the Lord, there is no question of scarcity for his personal maintenance or the needs of his family. So, this is the faith one must develop in order to um, devote oneself fully to the service of Krishna. So, that is very much needed. So, that faith we should strengthen. While we do not have such faith, we may not be able to, we should not imitate the people who have such faith. We should act according to our level of faith, but we should always desire to grow and take the association of devotees and push ourselves and allow ourselves to be pushed by the devotees. Because sometimes we don't push ourselves because everybody likes comfort. They want to stay in their comfort zone. So we should allow ourselves to be pushed by the devotees. That will be beneficial for us. शची कहे मुई देखो आकाश ऊपरे दिव्य मूर्ति लोक सब जन स्तुति करे. Sachimata told her husband, I see wonderfully brilliant human beings appearing in outer space as if offering prayers. Purport. Jagannath Mishra was honored by everyone on the earth and was supplied with all necessities. Similarly, Mother Shachi saw many demigods in outer space offering prayers to her because of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presence in her womb. They were not um, too shocked by all these happenings um, because in Vedic civilization we know that there are people in other planets, and these otherworldly beings, they don't startle such people who know the truths as they are. If any UFO comes, oh, there's a big news, oh, something came, or some saw some ghost or something, we are shocked, kind of, you know. But if we know that there are such beings, so sometimes they may come before us, sometimes most of the time may not. So we should not be too startled by that. We should know that they exist. They are souls after all, just like us. They're trapped in different bodies. Some people as ghosts, some people as demigods, some people as insects, some people as human beings. But anyway, she was seeing these demigods who were coming and offering prayers. This same thing happened. Garbhastuti prayers are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 2nd chapter, where the demigods circumambulated Devaki, who was pregnant with Krishna, and they offered so many nice prayers. Similar things have happened during before the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. जगन्नाथ मिश्र कहे स्वप्न जे देखिल ज्योतिर्मय धाम मोर हृदय पशिल. Jagannath Mishra then replied, in a dream I saw the effulgent abode of the Lord enter my heart. আমার হৃদয় হইতে গেলা তোমার হৃদয়ে হেন বুঝি জন্মিবে না কোনো মহাশয়ে. From my heart it entered your heart. I therefore understand that a great personality will soon take birth. So, this is exactly the same thing that happened before Krishna's birth. So, it was not by sexual intercourse that Devaki was impregnated in the case of Krishna. From Krishna entered the heart of Vasudeva, and then he entered the heart of Devaki, from Vasudeva's heart to Devaki's heart. Similarly, here also, first Jagannath Mishra's heart, and then Sachimata's heart, and then into her womb. So, to corroborate this, I'll just show that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Where is that? 10 to 18. Okay. So here's the one actually. Thereafter, accompanied by plenary expansions, the fully opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all auspicious for the entire universe, was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki. Devaki, having thus been initiated by Vasudeva, became beautiful by carrying Lord Krishna, the original consciousness for everyone, the cause of all causes, within the core of her heart, just as the east becomes beautiful by carrying the rising moon. So this is what happened in the case of Vasudeva and Devaki. Now, purport is also very important. As indicated here by the word Manastaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was transferred from the core of Vasudeva's mind or heart to the core of the heart of Devaki. We should note carefully that the Lord was transferred to Devaki not by the ordinary way for a human being, but by Diksha, initiation. Thus, the importance of initiation is mentioned here. Unless one is initiated by the right person, who always carries within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot acquire the power to carry the Supreme Godhead within the core of one's own heart. This is true. If a woman is having intercourse with a man who is not potent, then she will not become pregnant. So, similarly, in the other way around, if the man is potent and the woman is not fertile, then also there will be no pregnancy. So, the father here has to be potent, and that's how he becomes a father. Now, similarly, the spiritual master has to be potent enough to give Krishna, and then the disciple can bear Krishna in his own heart. Just like Vasudeva and Devaki or Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. So it is by initiation, this heart to heart. So that is what happened. Krishna Shetomar, Krishna Dite Paro. So who can give Krishna? A person who has Krishna. And when he gives Krishna, he still has Krishna left with him. It's not that he gives Krishna, now Krishna is no more with him. No. Thus, the importance of initiation is mentioned. Unless one is initiated by the right person who always carries within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot acquire the power to carry the Supreme Godhead within the core of one's own heart. So, without the service of a pure devotee, one cannot get Krishna. Krishna prapti hoy jahan hoite. What is that? Jahara prasade bhai, ei bhavatoriya jai, Krishna prapti hoy jahan hoite. So, Jahara prasade bhai, ei bhavatoriya jai. So, by the mercy of the Guru, we can cross the ocean of material existence and we can achieve Krishna. So, we can achieve Krishna only by the mercy of the Guru. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasad, yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. So, here again, the Lord did not need to live within the womb of Devaki, for his presence within the core of her heart was sufficient to carry him. One is here forbidden to think that Krishna was begotten by Vasudeva within the womb of Devaki and that she carried the child within her womb. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in the pure unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is not different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere and specifically within the heart is called Dhama. Dhama refers not only to Krishna's form but to his name, his form, quality, and his paraphernalia. Thus, the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki exactly as the setting sun's rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva. In this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of the Absolute Truth. Um, yeah. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's palace. Commenting upon this verse, Sri Veeraraghavacharya writes, Vasudeva Devaki Jatharayor Hridayayor Bhagavatah Sambandhah. The Supreme Lord's entrance into the womb of Devaki from the heart of Vasudeva was a heart to heart relationship. This is Diksha. So, if we do not take the instructions of the spiritual master, then we cannot become pregnant with Krishna. So, a devotee should become pregnant with Krishna. So, in another place, um, this Devaki is compared to the devotee and comes to Maya. I think 10 to 8, if I'm not wrong. देवक्या जठरे गर्भं शेषाख्यं धाममामकं तत्सन्निकृष्य रोहिण्या उदरे सन्निवेशय. Within the womb of Devaki is my partial plenary expansion known as Sankarshan or Shesha. Without difficulty transfer him into the womb of Rohini. In this connection, one may ask how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always situated transcendentally, could enter the womb of Devaki, which had previously been entered by the 6 Asuras, Shadgarbhas. Does this mean that the Shadgarbhasuras were equal to the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The following answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The entire creation, as well as its individual parts, is an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, even though the Lord enters the material world, he does not do so. This is explained by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram bhutabhrinna cha bhutastho mamatma bhutabhavana. By me in my unmanifested form, this is from Bhagavad Gita 9.4 and 5. By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, myself is the very source of creation. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything is an expansion of Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet everything is not the Supreme Godhead. And he is not everywhere. Everything rests upon him, and yet does not rest upon him. This can be explained only through the Achintya Bheda philosophy. Such truths cannot be understood, however, unless one is a pure devotee. For the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvatah. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. Even though the Lord cannot be understood by ordinary persons, this principle should be understood from the statement of the Shastras. A pure devotee is always transcendently situated because of executing 9 different processes. Okay, now all this is, you can read it, but here, this is what I want to show. Symbolically, Mother Devaki's constant fear of Kamsa was purifying her. Now, this is another important aspect. Sometimes we think, oh, how come Devaki, such a pure devotee, and she has to fear Kamsa. It was such an abuse by her brother. Yeah, we can sit down and cry, and yeah, it was an abuse and it isn't. But you see how it is being explained. The mother Devaki's constant fear of Kamsa was purifying her. A pure devotee should always fear material association, and in this way, all the asuras of material association will be killed, as the Shadgarbhasuras were killed by Kamsa. Now, I do not know what is the significance of the 8 daughters of Sachimata being killed one after another after their birth. I do not know what is there any backstory to that? I don't know. So I'm not going to speculate on that. But anyway, coming back to this story here, explanation here. A pure devotee should always fear material association, and in this way, all the asuras of material association will be killed, as the Shadgarbhasuras were killed by Kamsa. What are these asuras of material association? It is not some other asuras, some other demons. Demons are within us. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the things that are to be killed. It is said that from the mind, Marichi appears. In other words, Marichi is an incarnation of the mind. Marichi has 6 sons: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in pure devotional service. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Bhakti Revainam Darshayati. Only bhakti can bring one in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared from the womb of Devaki, and therefore Devaki symbolically represents bhakti, and Kamsa symbolically represents material fear. When a pure devotee always fears material association, his real position of bhakti is manifested, and he naturally becomes uninterested in material enjoyment. We should fear material association. Fear in the sense, be alert, not that we are always scared. We should be alert. Just like when you are driving, for those who know how to drive, or motorbike or anything like that, you will see that you have to be careful. You have to be kind of scared of everyone on the road. Because even if you are going all right, somebody else may make a mistake. And especially in countries like here in Singapore, where the speeds of traffic are quite high, the danger is also quite high. If anything a little bit goes wrong, everything goes wrong. So that is very important to understand, that we similarly with Maya, we have to be very cautious. Then our devotion will naturally increase. If we are not cautious, if we are very comfortable swimming in Maya, then we will be dragged down. You know, nowadays Maya is offering her association everywhere, especially with the phone. Um, and if we are not careful, if we are not, um, you know, vigilant, then we are becoming comfortable with her association, and that is a huge danger. Huge. Because so much time is wasted, it will never come back. And the conceptions that are thrown into us by all this social media and everything is too strong. We are what is that, polluting our mind with all these thoughts, all these inputs. So we do not even know how it happens. So it's so subtle. It's so subtle. When a pure devotee always fears material association, his real position of bhakti is manifested, and he naturally becomes uninterested in material enjoyment. When the 6 sons of Marichi are killed by such fear, and one is freed from material contamination, within the womb of bhakti, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears. Thus, the 7th pregnancy of Devaki signifies the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After the 6 sons, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya are killed, the Sesha incarnation creates a suitable situation for the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, when one awakens his natural Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna appears. This is the explanation given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, so what is a suitable situation? So Balaram came into the womb of Devaki, and then he was transferred into the womb of Rohini. But that, I mean, the whole this verse 10 to 8 is Krishna actually ordering Yogamaya to transfer Baladev to the womb of Rohini from Devaki's womb. Now, why would Krishna do such a thing? If he has everything in control, if he's planning everything, how he's coming, how Balaram is coming, how everybody, all Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Maya and Vasudev Devaki, everybody, all the Yadu dynasty. If he knows, if he has already planned this before he came, and he sent his devotees first and then later on he came, why would he do such a seemingly stopgap measure where, you know, last minute, hey, you put Baladev within the Devaki's womb? No, 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 you transfer it to Rohini's womb and I will come here. There's some chaos happened there, some, miscalculation happened. Why did such a thing happen then? No, there is no mishap in the matter of Krishna. So what is the explanation? Explanation is that to have Krishna, we need the strength of Balaram. Now, the six Shadgarbhasuras, which represent the six dirty things in our heart, are killed. Still, it is not enough for Krishna to come. We need spiritual strength. Spiritual, of course, with spiritual strength, we can give up all these anarthas. But even after that, there is a neutral stage. No, it has to be full, brimming with devotion. So for that, we need spiritual strength. So Balaram comes and then makes a suitable condition there, purifies the whole place, and then Krishna comes. So Balaram came and purified the womb. So Balaram is servitor godhead. He is same as Krishna, but he always takes the position of serving Krishna. In the case of Ramachandra Bhagavan, Shesha came as Lakshman. Now here he came as Balaram, and in as Shesha himself, he becomes the bed, he becomes the cloth, he becomes the flute, he becomes the peacock feather, all the ornaments. So in this way, he expands himself. His umbrella, his seat, his shoes, you know, all these things. Lord Balaram, he or Shesha, Ananta Shesha, he serves. That's why his name is called Ananta Shesha. Shesha because Ananta because he is unlimitedly serving the Lord, and Shesha because he has reached the end of service of the Lord. That means he is completely serving the Lord. He has reached the end of service. We can never adequately serve the Lord, but he can adequately serve the Lord. But if he is adequately serving the Lord, then why would we need to become his servant? No, we don't need to become his servant for him. But for us, yes, we need. He does not need us, we need him. So anyway, if we have to become Krishna conscious, then we need the strength, and strength comes from Balaram. Bala means strength. So it's a spiritual strength. Of course, material strength also comes from spiritual strength, but that is a very um, distorted, limited form of strength. For example, if I have to lift something heavy, that is material strength. But even that material strength, to have material strength, the spirit soul has to be there. Now, the same muscles will not be able to lift anything if the soul is not there in that body. The body may be very muscular, but if the person has died, it means the person has gone somewhere. Now, that body with all its muscles cannot lift a single thing. So, muscles are not the real thing. The real thing is the soul, and that is the spiritual strength. When there is spiritual strength, then we can exhibit some material strength. But when we become extremely spiritually strong, then we can defy even so called material strength. That is the thing. So we have to become spiritually strong, like the Vanara army of Ramachandra Bhagavan. They defeated the sophisticated army of Ravan, who were very, very expert in warfare. But on the other hand, Vanaras were only throwing stones and mountain peaks and trees and some things like that. They were very crude in their way of fighting, but they had spiritual strength because they were serving Ram, and that made all the difference. Okay? Somebody's asking some tantric aspect of Krishna. Please listen to the class. Don't ask me just questions out of the blue without any context. Here, the topic of the class is we're speaking about the appearance of Krishna and the initiation and how we have to receive Krishna. Please listen to the class. This is not a ask me anything session. This is a lecture on Chaitanya Charitamrita. The topic is the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Please listen to that. Listening is very important. Just don't ask random questions. I'm not going to answer that. Okay? अथाहमंश भागेन देवक्याः पुत्रतां शुभे प्राप्स्यामि त्वं यशोदायां नन्द पत्न्यां भविष्यसि. O all auspicious Yogamaya, I shall then appear with my full six opulences as the son of Devaki, and you will appear as the daughter of Mother Yashoda, the queen of Maharaj Nanda. So this is what happened during the Krishna's birth, and this is how he ordered everything to happen. So anyway, now we will go back. Here. From my heart it entered your heart. So Jagannath Mishra says, saying this to Sachi Mata. एतो बलि दुहे रहे हर्षित हइया शालग्राम सेवा करे विशेष करिया. After this conversation, both husband and wife were very jubilant, and together they rendered service to the household Shalagram Shila. Purport, especially in every Brahmana's house, there must be a Shalagram Shila to be worshipped by the Brahmana family. This system is still current. People who are Brahmanas by caste, who are born in a Brahmana family, must worship the Shalagram Shila. Unfortunately, with the progress of Kali Yuga, the so-called Brahmanas, although very proud of taking birth in Brahmana families, no longer worship the Shalagram Shila. But actually, it has been a custom since time immemorial that a person born in a Brahmana family must worship the Shalagram Shila in all circumstances. In our Krishna consciousness society, some of the members are very anxious to introduce worship of the Shalagram Shila, but we have purposely refrained from introducing it because most of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement do not originally come from families of the Brahmana caste. After some time, when we find that they are actually situated strictly in the line of Brahmanical behavior, Shalagram Shila worship will be introduced. In this age, the worship of the Shalagram Shila is not as important as the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. That is the injunction of the Shastra. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam. Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyatha. Srila Jiva Goswami's opinion is that by chanting the holy name offenselessly, one becomes completely perfect. Nevertheless, just to purify the situation of the mind, worship of the deity in the temple is also necessary. Therefore, when one is advanced in spiritual consciousness or is perfectly situated on a spiritual platform, he may take to the worship of the Shalagram Shila. Just a second here. Just the camera a little bit. The transference of the Lord from the heart of Jagannath Mishra to the heart of Sachimata is explained by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as follows. It is to be concluded that Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata are Nitya Siddhas, ever pure associates of the Lord. Their hearts are always uncontaminated and therefore they never forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A common man in this material world has a contaminated heart. He must therefore first purify his heart to come to the transcendental position. But Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata were not a common man and woman with contaminated hearts. When the heart is uncontaminated, it is said to be in the existential position of Vasudeva. Vasudeva can beget Vasudeva or Krishna, who is transcendentally situated. Unquote. It is to be understood that Sachi Devi did not become pregnant as an ordinary woman becomes pregnant because of sense indulgence. One should not think the pregnancy of Sachimata to be that of an ordinary woman because that is an offense. One can understand the pregnancy of Sachimata when one is actually advanced in spiritual consciousness and fully engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So, now, not only can we not understand the Lord, but we cannot even understand the pregnancy of the devotee of the Lord. We cannot even understand that. So, this is only understood by great devotees. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:2-16, it is stated, Bhagavan api Vishvatma Bhaktanam Abhayankarah Aviveshansha Bhagena Mana Anakadundubhe. This is a statement regarding the birth of Lord Krishna. The incarnation of the Lord entered the mind of Vasudeva and was then transferred to the mind of Devaki. Just go there, 10-16. Entered the mind of Vasudeva in full opulence. While carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudeva bore the Lord's transcendently illuminating effulgence, and thus he became as bright as the sun. Then it was transferred. Okay. This is a statement regarding the birth of Lord Krishna. The incarnation of the Lord entered the mind of Vasudeva and then was transferred to the mind of Devaki. Srila Sridhar Swami gives the following annotation in this connection. Mana avivesha manasyavir babhuva jivanam ivana dhatu sambandha ityartha. There was no question of the seminal discharge necessary for the birth of an ordinary human being. So there was no seminal discharge by Jagannath Mishra in the case of the pregnancy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as is usually needed for an ordinary human being's birth. Srila Rupa Goswami also comments in this connection that Lord Krishna first appeared in the mind of Anakadundubhi, which is another name for Vasudeva, and was then transferred to the mind of Devaki Devi. Thus, the spiritual bliss in the mind of Devaki Devi gradually increased just as the moon increases every night until it becomes a full moon. At the time of his appearance, Lord Krishna came out of the mind of Devaki and appeared within the prison house of Kamsa by the side of Devaki's bed. At that time, by the spell of Yogamaya, Devaki thought that her child had now been born. In this connection, even the demigods from the celestial kingdom were also bewildered. You see that. The birth of Krishna was so bewildering that even the demigods were bewildered. See? At the time of his appearance, Lord Krishna came out of the mind of Devaki and appeared within the prison house of Kamsa by the side of Devaki's bed. At that time, by the spell of Yogamaya, Devaki thought that her child had now been born. In this connection, even the demigods from the celestial kingdom were also bewildered. And it is, as it is stated, Mohyanti yat surayaha. They came to offer their prayers to Devaki, thinking that the Supreme Lord was within her womb. The demigods came to Mathura from their celestial kingdom. This indicates that Mathura is still more important than the celestial kingdom of the upper planetary system. Lord Krishna, as the eternal son of Yashoda Mai, is always present in Vrindavan. The pastimes of Lord Krishna are continuously going on within both this material world and the spiritual world. In such pastimes, the Lord always thinks himself the eternal son of Mother Yashoda and Father Nanda Maharaj. In the 10th Srimad Bhagavatam 10.6.43, it is stated, when magnanimous, broad-hearted Nanda Maharaj came back from a tour, he immediately took his son Krishna on his lap and experienced transcendental bliss by smelling his head. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.21, it is said, this personality of Godhead appearing as the son of a cowherd damsel is easily available and understandable to devotees, whereas those who are under the concept of bodily life, even though they are very much advanced in austerity and penance, or even though they are great philosophers, are unable to understand him. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur next quotes Sripad Baladev Vidyabhushan, who refers to the prayers offered by the demigods to Lord Krishna in the womb of Devaki and summarizes the birth of Krishna as follows. Quote, as the rising moon manifests light in the east, so Devaki, who was always situated on the transcendental platform, having been initiated in the Krishna mantra by Vasudeva, the son of Shurasena, kept Krishna within her heart. Unquote. From this statement of Srimad Bhagavatam 10 to 18, it is understood that The Supreme Personality of Godhead, having been transferred from the heart of Anakadundubhi or Vasudev, immediately manifested himself in the heart of Devaki. According to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, the heart of Devaki means the womb of Devaki because in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:41, the demigods say, Dishtyamba te kukshi gatah parah puman. Mother Devaki, the Lord is already within your womb. Therefore, that the Lord was transferred from the heart of Vasudeva to the heart of Devaki means that he was transferred to the womb of Devaki. Similarly, in regard to the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the word Visheshe, Sevana Kore Govinda Charan, they specifically began to worship the lotus feet of Govinda, indicate that exactly as Krishna appeared in the heart of Devaki through the heart of Vasudeva, so Lord Chaitanya appeared in the heart of Shachi Devi through the heart of Jagannath Mishra. This is the mystery of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Consequently, one should not think of Lord Chaitanya's appearance as that of a common man or living entity. This subject matter is a little difficult to understand. But for devotees of the Lord, it will not at all be difficult to realize the statements given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. হইতে হইতে হইল গর্ভ ত্রয়োদশ মাস তথাপি ভূমিষ্ঠ নহে মিশ্রের হইল ত্রাস. In this way, the pregnancy approached its 13th month, but still there was no sign of the delivery of the child. Thus, Jagannath Mishra became greatly apprehensive. নীলাম্বর চক্রবর্তী কহিল গণিয়া এই মাসে পুত্র হবে শুভক্ষণ পাইয়া. Nilambar Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then did an astrological calculation and said that in that very month, taking advantage of an auspicious moment, the child would take birth. Somebody is saying, reply, else I will leave class. You are free to leave. चौदशत सात शाके मास जे फाल्गुन पौर्णमासेर संध्या काले होइल शुभक्षण. Thus, in the year 1407 of the Shaka era, or 1486 AD, in the month of Phalguna, February March, in the evening of the full moon day, the desired auspicious moment arrived. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya has presented the horoscope of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. Shaka 1407, 10, 22, 28, 45, Dinam 7, 11, 8, 15, 54, 38, 40, 37, 40, 13, 6, 23. So those who know astrological charts, they might know what this means. I do not know anything, but I know it's, I think, the chart, and these are the numbers. I don't know what the numbers even mean. Anyway, so the explanation of the horoscope given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is that at the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the planets were situated as follows. Shukra or Venus was in the Mesha Rasi, Aries, and the nakshatra lunar mansion of Ashwini. Oh, and the lunar mansion of Ashwini. Ketu, the ninth planet, was in Simha Rashi, Leo, and Uttar Phalguni. Chandra, the moon, was in Purva Phalguni, the 11th lunar mansion. Shani, Saturn, was in the Vrishchika Rashi, Scorpio, and Jyeshtha. Brihaspati, Jupiter, was in Dhanu Rashi, Sagittarius, and Purva Shadha. Mangala or Mars was in Makara Rashi, Capricorn, and Shravana. Ravi, the sun, was in Kumbha Rashi, Aquarius, and Purva Bhadrapad. Rahu was in Purva Bhadrapad, and Buddha, Mercury, was in the Meena Rashi, Pisces, and Uttara Bhadrapad. The Lagna was Simha. So this is very, very detailed. I mean, the record of such, information is impressive. सिंह राशि सिंह लग्न उच्च ग्रह गण Shadvarga Ashtavarga Sarva Sulakshan. According to the Jyotirveda or Vedic astrology, the auspicious birth moment is described as follows. The moon was in Leo, the figure of the lion in the zodiac. Leo was the ascendant, several planets were strongly positioned, and the Shadvarga and Ashtavarga showed all auspicious influences. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was previously a great astrologer, explains this verse as follows. The Shadvarga, six divisions, are technically called Kshetra, Hora, Drekana, Navamsha, Dvadashamsha, and Trimshamsha. According to Jyotirvedic astrology, when the relationship between the planets and the rulers of these six divisions is determined, the auspiciousness of the moment of birth can be calculated. In the book named Brihad Jataka and other books, there are directions for interpreting the movements of the stars and planets. One who knows the process of calculating the Ashtavarga, eight divisions, can predict auspicious and inauspicious events. This science is known especially by persons who are called Hora Shastravit, or those who know the astrological scriptures. On the strength of astrological calculations from the Hora scriptures, Nilambar Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, had ascertained the auspicious moment when the Lord would appear. Akalanka Gaurachandra Dila Darshan, Sakalanka Chandrayara Kona Prayojan. When the spotless moon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became visible, what would be the need of a moon full of black marks on its body? एट जानी राहु कोयलो चंद्रेर ग्रहण कृष्ण कृष्ण हरि नामे भासे त्रिभुवन. This is interesting. So, Rahu came to serve the Lord. How? So, the consideration was if the spotless moon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is visible, what is the use of this moon full of black marks on his body? So, Rahu came and did a Chandragrahan. He came and covered the moon. So, again, Rahu planet is causing the lunar eclipse, and not exactly like what the modern scientists say. So there's a difference of opinion here. So Rahu is the planet which causes eclipses. So anyway, considering this, Rahu, the black planet, covered the full moon, and immediately vibrations of Krishna, Krishna, Hari inundated the three worlds. Purport. According to Jyotirveda, a lunar eclipse takes place when the Rahu planet comes in front of the full moon. It is customary in India that all the followers of Vedic scriptures bathe in the Ganges or Ganga or the sea as soon as there is a lunar or solar eclipse. All strict followers of the Vedic religion stand up in the water throughout the whole period of the eclipse and chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra. At the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a lunar eclipse took place, and naturally all the people standing in the water were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय जय ध्वनि होइल सकल भुवन चमत्कार होइया लोक भावे मन मन. All people thus chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra during the lunar eclipse, and their minds were struck with wonder. जगत भरिया लोक बोले हरि हरि शेक्षण गौर Krishna bhume avatari. When the whole world was thus chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in the form of Gaurahari, advented himself on the earth. प्रसन्न होइल सब जगते रमन हरि बोली हिंदू के हास्य करो ये जबन. The whole world was pleased while the Hindus chanted the holy name of the Lord. The non-Hindus, especially the Muslims, jokingly imitated the words. So they were also chanting in that way. Purport. Although Muslims or non-Hindus have no interest in chanting the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Muslims in Navadvip imitated the Hindus as they chanted during the lunar eclipse. Thus, the Hindus and Muslims joined together in chanting the holy name of the Lord when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advented himself. It doesn't matter with which attitude they chant, if they chant, it is good. You know, हरि बोली नारीगण देई हुला होली स्वर्गे वाद्य नृत्य करे देव कुतूहली. While all the ladies vibrated the holy name of Hari on earth, in the heavenly planets dancing and music were going on, for the demigods were very curious. प्रसन्न होइलो दश दिक् प्रसन्न होइलो दश दिक् प्रसन्न नदी जल स्थावर जंगम होइलो आनंदे विह्वल. In this atmosphere, all the 10 directions became jubilant, as did the waves of the rivers. Moreover, all beings moving and non-moving were overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. नदिया उदयगिरि पूर्ण चंद्र गौर हरि कृपा करे होइलो उदय पापतम होइलो नाश त्रिजगतेर उल्लास जग भरि हरि ध्वनि होया. Thus, by his causeless mercy, the full moon Gaurahari rose in the district of Nadia, which is compared to Udayagiri, where the sun first becomes visible. His rising in the sky dissipated the darkness of sinful life, and thus the three worlds became joyful and chanted the holy name of the Lord. Sheikale Nijalaya Uthiya Advaita Raya Nritya Kore Anandita Mane Haridase Laya Sange Hukar Kirtan Range Kene Nache Keho Nahi Jane. At that time, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, in his own house at Shantipur, was dancing in a pleasing mood. Taking Haridas Thakur with him, he danced and loudly chanted Hare Kṛṣṇa. But why they were dancing, no one could understand. Purport: it is understood that Advaita Prabhu at that time was in his own paternal house at Shantipur. Haridas Thakur frequently used to meet him. Coincidentally, therefore, he was also there, and upon the birth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, both of them immediately began to dance. But no one in Shantipur could understand why those two saintly persons were dancing. देखी उपराग हासी शीघ्र गंगा घाटे आसी आनंदे करिल गंगा स्नान पाया उपराग छले आपनार मन बले ब्राह्मणेर दिल नाना दान. Seeing the lunar eclipse and laughing, Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur immediately went to the bank of the Ganga and bathed in the river in great jubilation. Taking advantage of the occasion of the lunar eclipse, Advaita Acharya, by his mental strength, distributed various types of charity to the Brahmanas. By his mental strength. Purport: it is the custom of Hindus to give in charity to the poor as much as possible during the time of a lunar or solar eclipse. Advaita Acharya, so that means it is a good thing. Next time we can ask people donations. Lunar and solar eclipse. I think we should quote this and collect some donations for the temple. It is a custom of Hindus to give in charity to the poor as much as possible during the time of a lunar or solar eclipse. Sometimes during, they say so lunar or solar eclipse, you cannot go into the open air and all that. We sometimes stand whole day near some Chinese temple and we collect donations during the eclipse time. So apparently it is according to Shastra. Our next eclipse is coming Thursday in Singapore. Oh, really? Maybe we should collect some donations. Advaita Acharya, therefore, taking advantage of this eclipse, distributed many varieties of charity to the Brahmanas. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.11, there is a statement that when Krishna took his birth, Vasudeva immediately took advantage of this moment and distributed 10,000 cows to the Brahmanas. It is customary among Hindus that at the time a child is born, especially a male child, The parents distribute great charity in jubilation. Advaita Acharya was actually interested in distributing charity because of Lord Chaitanya's birth at the time of the lunar eclipse. People could not understand, however, why Advaita Acharya was giving such a great variety of things in charity. He did so not because of the lunar eclipse, but because of the Lord's taking birth at that moment. He distributed charity exactly as Vasudeva did at the time of Lord Krishna's appearance. So Vasudeva also gave in charity in his mind at the time when he was in jail. Um, so here also Advaita Acharya gave a mental strength, it looks like. Um, Now, especially when a male child is born, the parents distribute great charity and jubilation. When a female child is born, um, anyway, when she gets married, that time they have to give a huge charity. In fact, they have to give in charity their own daughter to the husband, Kanyadan. And at that time, they used to give a lot of dowry also. Some people, some Hindutva people are saying nowadays that dowry system is not there before, it was later introduced. It's an evil that was introduced later. That's not a fact. Dowry was there since time immemorial. When Kardama Muni was brahmachari, he was in the forest, and Swayambhuva Manu, who was, one of the Prajapatis in the universe, and his daughter Devahuti was to get married. Then he arranged her marriage to this brahmachari in the forest. She was a princess, and he was like mendicant in the forest. Not even mendicant, he was a brahmachari. And he did not earn anything at that time. No, he did not have any household, nothing. So when Swayambhu Manu gave his daughter, he gave also many other things for the convenience of household. Other household conveniences were given so that they can have a comfortable life. That is the reason dowry is given, because the man was supposed to stay as brahmachari and busy in cultivating spiritual life, and therefore the girl's father gives in charity not only the um, daughter but also other things for household conveniences. And according to the opulence of the bride's father, he will give gifts accordingly. Sometimes many maid servants are also given along with the daughter, and gold, elephants, horses, and sometimes armies are given in charity to other kingdoms when there is a princess who's marrying another prince of another kingdom. So in this way, there was dowry system. It is never that it was not there, but it was done scientifically and for a reason. Nowadays, dowry system, like what is that? So things are existing in name without with the purpose completely lost. That's why they appear as evil, because they were abused. The system was abused. But the system is not wrong. It should not be discarded, therefore. And why you may say, some people, especially nowadays, the, how come there is so much celebration when a male child comes, when a female child not so much celebration? Well, in fact, let me tell you one thing. At one time, Prabhupada, all the devotees were getting girls, and then Prabhupada actually a little bit was concerned. Why there's no boys? Huh? Um, he was a bit concerned. I want boys, he was saying. So why is that? You may say that is discrimination. What is this? But there is a science to it. He was concerned because if the man is potent, it is like this in Ayurveda. During sexual intercourse, whoever produces more secretion, if the man produces more secretion, there is higher chance of not higher chance. It's the boy will take birth, and if the woman does so, a girl will take birth. So a man who has sufficiently um, followed the brahmacharya, usually he will get a boy because of that, because he has retained his semen. He's not, losing the semen every now and then, because he retains, and so he uses only when he has to in the household life, and he can easily beget a male child. Um, So he was concerned that maybe he's devotees are not following properly. That's one thing. Another aspect is, we if we want leaders in the movement, it has to be men. Women, as they can become good devotees and everything, but they cannot lead. They absolutely cannot lead. So now, especially in the modern Western ideology, they think, oh, why are you saying that? We can lead. No, there will be a lot of complications, lot of problems when a woman leads, and the problems come from every direction. Yeah. So therefore, for the leaders in society, there has to be men. So when a man takes birth and he also continues the descent, the family descent, and also putra pinda prayojanam, the father, if he at all becomes sinful, unknowingly or knowingly, if there is a son, then he can do pinda for the father. That is another consideration. So many considerations are there because of which a male child is desired. But it's not that when a female child is born, she is undesirable. Not like that. Every care is taken for the upbringing of that girl child as well. But there is extra celebration when there is a male child. So that's how it is. जगत आनंदमय देखि मने सविस्मय ठारे ठोरे कहे हरिदास তোমার ঐছন রঙ্গ মোর মন প্রসন্ন দেখি কিছু কার্যে আছে ভাষা. When he saw that the whole world was jubilant, Haridas Thakur, his mind astonished, directly and indirectly expressed himself to Advaita Acharya. Quote, your dancing and distributing charity are very pleasing to me. I can understand that there is some special purpose in these actions. Unquote. Acharya Ratna Srivasa Hoilo Mane Sukholasa Jai Snana Koilo Ganga Jole Anande Vihvala Mana Kohe Hari Sankirtana Nana Dan Koilo Mana Bole. Acharya Ratna, Chandrasekhar, and Srivas Thakur were overwhelmed with joy, and immediately they went to the bank of the Ganga to bathe in her waters. Their minds full of happiness, they chanted the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra and gave charity by mental strength. এইমত ভক্ত ততি যার যে দেশে স্থিতি তাহা তাহা পাইয়া মানো বলে নাচে করে সংকীর্তন আনন্দে বিহ্বল মন দান করে গ্রহণের ছলে. In this way, all the devotees, wherever they were situated in every city and every country, danced, performed Sankirtan, and gave charity by mental strength on the plea of the lunar eclipse, their minds overwhelmed with joy. ब्राह्मण सज्जन नारी नाना द्रव्ये थाली भरी आयला सबे यौतुक लइया जेन कांचा सोना द्युति देखी बालकेर मूर्ति आशीर्वाद करे सुख पाया. All sorts of respectable Brahmana gentlemen and ladies carrying plates filled with various gifts came with their presentations. Seeing the newborn child whose form resembled natural glaring gold, all of them happily offered their blessings. Savitri Gauri Saraswati Shachirambha Arundhati Arjata Devanari Gana Nana Dravya Patra Bhari Brahmanir Veshadhari Ashisabe Kore Darshana. Beautiful. Dressing themselves as the wives of Brahmanas, all the celestial ladies, including the wives of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Narsimadev, King Indra, and Vasishtha Rishi, along with Rambha, a dancing girl of the heaven, came there with varieties of gifts. Savitri, Gauri, Saraswati, Shachi, Rambha, Arundhati. Shachi is the wife of King Indra, not Shachi Mata. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a newborn baby, he was visited by the neighboring ladies, most of whom were the wives of respectable Brahmanas. In the dress of Brahmanas' wives, celestial ladies like the wives of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva also came to see the newborn child. Ordinary people saw them as respectable Brahmana ladies of the neighborhood, but actually they were all celestial ladies dressed in that way. See, अंतरिक्षे देवगण गंधर्व सिद्ध चारण स्तुति नृत्य करे वाद्य गीता नर्तक वादक भाट नवद्वीपे जार नाट सबे आसे नाचे पाया प्रीत. In outer space, all the demigods, including the inhabitants of Gandharvalok, Siddhalok, and Charanalok, offered their prayers and dance to the accompaniment of music, songs, and the beating of drums. Similarly, in Navadvip city, all the professional dancers, musicians, and blessers gathered together, dancing in great jubilation. Purport: as there are professional singers, dancers, and reciters of prayers in the heavenly planets, so in India still there are professional dancers, blessers, and singers, all of whom assemble together during householder ceremonies, especially marriages and birth ceremonies. These professional men earn their livelihood by taking charity on such occasions from the homes of the Hindus. Eunuchs also take advantage of such ceremonies to receive charity. That is their means of livelihood. So eunuchs, they bless. They have this power to bless or curse. So although they are important and everything, but Krishna gave them some, means for them to have their livelihood. So they have this kind of, um, special this thing. Such men never become servants or engage themselves in agriculture or business occupations. They simply take charity from neighborhood friends to maintain themselves peacefully. The Bhattas are a class of Brahmanas who go to such ceremonies to offer blessings by composing poems with references to the Vedic scriptures. Now, here we can see a whole situation of Varnasrama where everybody is doing their duties, and even though they are professional singers and dancers, they're not going to this dance talent shows and getting some big prize and becoming celebrities and becoming the heads of, or the the top echelon of society. No, no. Their situation was that they were professional dancers and musicians and singers, but they did so to glorify the Lord, to attend the social functions and participate in them. That was their position. They were never having the celebrity status. Even actors, they were there. It's not that only with Bollywood there was acting. No, acting dramatics were already there already, all the time. But and even comedians were there. Court jesters. They used to be court jesters. They used to entertain the king. And the jokes also sometimes, of course, were silly and making fun of the king even sometimes. But sometimes they're also meaningful. And panegyrists, the glorifiers of the king, they also used to glorify according to Vedic principles. And actors, they used to, conduct dramatic performances, based on the pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. So in this way, everybody was doing their part in society. And nobody, and it was not that they never eclipsed the Brahmanas and became the celebrities. The fan club, there was some fanfare and all that, and Brahmanas were sidelined, and everybody was taking autograph of the dramatic performers and nothing. Brahmanas are always the highest, higher than even the kings, higher than royalty. They were above law. Such was the position of the Brahmanas. They used to advise the kings, and they never took pay for that. So Brahmanas are always treated as first class citizens everywhere. And they are not, they don't even need a visa to go to another country, another kingdom. They can just walk. Nobody will say anything. If you're a Brahmanan, you cannot offend that person. Qualified Brahmanas. Later on, of course, the Brahmanas became corrupted, and then now Brahmanas are relegated to, they don't even have quota in India, many things. They're suffering. So, because now they became Shudras. So, anyway, um, that was the situation. So, there's a whole Varnashram. You can see how everybody was coming together and participating in this social intercourse, social functions, and social, events. And especially now when the Lord came, how they were all, participating in that. के बा आसे के बा जाए, के बा नाचे के बा गाए, के बा आसे के बा जाए, के बा नाचे के बा गाए, संभालिते नारे कार बोला, खंडिलेक दुःख शोक, प्रमोद पूरित लोक, मिश्र होइला आनंदे विह्वल. No one could understand who was coming and who was going, who was dancing and who was singing. Nor could they understand one another's language. Yet all unhappiness and lamentation were immediately dissipated and people became all jubilant. Thus Jagannath Mishra was also overwhelmed with joy. This is the effect of Krishna consciousness. Even if people are of different languages, different backgrounds, different cultures, they can all come and become completely happy. They don't even need to understand each other just by, you know, by Krishna consciousness. They don't need to even materially understand each other's language. They are already happy. So this is the formula for world happiness, world peace and happiness. Um, Krishna should be the center of all our activities, just like here. Acharya Ratna Shrivasa Jagannath Mishra Pasha Asitare Kore Savadhana Karaila Jata Karma Jaya Chilo Vidhi Dharma Tobe Mishra Kore Nana Dana. Chandrasekhar Acharya and Srivas Thakur both came to Jagannath Mishra and drew his attention in various ways. They performed ritualistic ceremonies prescribed at the time of birth according to the religious principles. Jagannath Mishra also gave varieties of charity. So Jata Karma, Jata Karma, the auspicious ceremony at the time of birth. Here they see the astrology of the child as well. যৌতুক পাইল যত ঘরে বা ছিল কত সব ধন বিপ্রে দিল দান যত নর্তক গায়ন ভাট কিঞ্চন জন ধন দিয়া কইল সবার মান. Whatever riches Jagannath Mishra collected in the form of gifts and presentations, and whatever he had in his house, he distributed among the brahmanas, professional singers, dancers, bhattas, and the poor. He honored them all by giving them riches and charity. So this is how a brahmana. Pathan pathan jajan jajan dana pratigraha. Pratigraha means to accept donations. Dana means to give back donations. So although he accepts donations, he gives them back in charity. Actually, Prabhupada's time, so many devotees gave so many gifts to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada accepted them. And when time came, he gave all this to the devotees. Somebody gave him a ring. He put the ring on. And later, when two devotees were getting married, then he, took the ring and gave them as, prasadam, blessing. You know. So in that way, he's not attached to anything, unless of course if he's using it. Like somebody gave a dictaphone. Of course, Prabhupada would not give the dictaphone to somebody. He would use. So in the service of Krishna, but other things he may accept, but then he will give away. श्रीवासेर ब्राह्मणी नाम तार मालिनी आचार्य रत्नेर पत्नी संगे सिंदूर हरिद्रा तैल खई कला नारिकेल दिया पूजे नारी गण रंगे. The wife of Srivas Thakur, whose name was Malini, accompanied by the wife of Chandrasekhar or Acharya Ratna and other ladies, came there in great happiness to worship the baby with paraphernalia such as vermilion, turmeric, oil, fused rice, bananas, and coconuts. Purport. Vermilion, khai, fused rice, bananas, coconuts, and turmeric mixed with oil are all auspicious gifts for such a ceremony. As there is puffed rice, so there is another preparation of rice called khai or fused rice, which along with bananas is taken as a very auspicious presentation. Must try. Also turmeric, I don't know what is fused rice. Is it flat rice? I don't know. Also turmeric mixed with oil and vermilion makes an auspicious ointment that is smeared over the body of a newborn baby or a person who is going to marry. These are all auspicious activities and family affairs. We see that 500 years ago at the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these ceremonies were performed rigidly But at present, such ritualistic performances hardly ever take place. Generally, a pregnant mother is sent to the hospital, and as soon as the child is born, he is washed with an antiseptic, and this concludes everything. Advaitacharya Bharya Jagat Pujita Arya Namatar Sita Thakurani Acharyera Agnya Paya Gelo Upahar Laya Dekhite Balaka Shiromani. One day, shortly after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Advaita Acharya's wife Sita Devi, who is worshipable by the whole world, took her husband's permission and went to see that topmost child with all kinds of gifts and presentations. Purport: it appears that Advaita Acharya had two different houses, one at Shantipur and one at Navadvip. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Advaita Acharya was residing not at his Navadvip house but at his Shantipur house. Therefore, as formally explained, text 99 from Advaita's old paternal house, Nijalay in Shantipur, Sita came to Navadvip to present gifts to the newborn child Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Suvarnera Kadi Bauli रजत मुद्रा पाशुली सुवर्णेर अंगद कंकण दुबाहुते दिव्य शंख रजतेर मलबंक स्वर्ण मुद्रार नानाहार गण. She brought different kinds of golden ornaments, including armlets, necklaces, anklets, and bangles for the hands. Consul is not mentioned. Maybe Rajater. Rajat means usually silver. Suvarna means gold. Rajata usually is silver. But I think gold also is sometimes called Rajat. Rajat Kirit, Murari Gupta wrote Ramashtakam. Rajat Kirit, that song is there. Uh, anyway, maybe if somebody can share that, you know, lyrics. Search for KK songs Ramashtakam by Murari Gupta. It is in the Brahma Samhita tune. And in there, Rajat Kirit, something, starting line, I think. Kirita means crown. Rajat means usually it is silver, but I don't know, maybe it's gold also. व्याघ्रनख हेमजडी कटिपट सूत्र डोरी हस्तपदेर जत आभरण चित्रवर्ण पट्ट साड़ी बुनी फोतो बुनी फोतो पट्ट पाड़ी स्वर्ण रौप्य मुद्रा बहुधन. No, Rajat Kirita Manadidhiti Deepitam Sam. No, I need, I can't do anything with the link. I need the actual lyrics. And then the translation also, if possible. So we can see what was translated, what it was translated as. व्याघ्रनख हेम जड़ी कटिपट्ट सूत्र डोरी हस्तपदेर जत आभरण चित्रवर्ण पट्ट साड़ी बुनी फोतो पट्ट पाड़ी स्वर्ण रौप्य mudra bahudhana. Very nice verse. Huh? There were also tiger nails set in gold, waist decorations of silk and lace, ornaments for the hands and legs, nicely printed silken saris, and a child's garment also made of silk. Many other riches, including gold and silver coins, were also presented to the child. Raupya. Here, Raupya means silver, Swarna means gold. राजत् किरीटमनिदीधिति दीपितांसम् उद्यद्बृहस्पतिकविप्रतिमेव हन्तम् द्वे कुण्डलिङ्करहितेन्दुसमानवक्त्रं रामं जगत्त्रयगुरुं सततं भजामि. Though his face is like a spotless moon, still it is further brightened by a shining crown of jewels. Okay. Rajat means shining, maybe, which is why silver is also called Rajat, maybe. His earrings resemble Jupiter and Venus rising in the evening sky. Okay. Oh, there is something else. Ah. Purport. From the gifts presented by Sita Thakurani, Advaita Acharya's wife, it appears that Advaita Acharya was at that time a very rich man. Although Brahmanas are not the rich men of society, Advaita Acharya, being the leader of the Brahmanas in Shantipur, was considerably well to do. Therefore, he presented many ornaments to the baby, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Kamalakanta Vishwas asking for 300 rupees from the king of Jagannath Puri, Maharaj Prataprudra, on the plea that Advaita Acharya was in debt for that amount, indicates that such a rich man who could present many valuable ornaments, saris, etc., thought it difficult to repay 300 rupees. Therefore, the value of a rupee at that time was many thousands of times what it is now. At present, no one feels difficulty over a debt of 300 rupees, nor can an ordinary man accumulate such valuable ornaments to present to a friend's son. Probably the value of 300 rupees at that time was equal to present value of 30,000 rupees. I think not even 30,000 now, 30 million or 30 billion or what, I don't know. दुर्वाधान्य गोरोचन हरिद्रा कुंकुम चंदन मंगल द्रव्य पात्र भरिया वस्त्र गुप्त दोला चढ़ी संगे लया दासी चेरी वस्त्रालंकार पेटारी भरिया. Riding in a palanquin covered with cloth and accompanied by maid servants, Sita Thakurani came to the house of Jagannath Mishra, bringing with her many auspicious articles such as fresh grass, paddy, gorochana, turmeric, kunkuma, and sandalwood. All these presentations filled a large basket. Purport. The words Vastragupta Dola are very significant in this verse. Even 50 or 60 years ago in Calcutta, all respectable ladies would go to a neighboring place riding on a palanquin. Vastragupta Dola. Dola Yatra. Sometimes palanquin. Dola Yatra. All respectable ladies would go to a neighboring place riding on a palanquin carried by 4 men. The palanquin was covered with soft cotton, and in that way there was no chance of seeing a respectable lady traveling in public. Look at that. Ladies, especially those coming from respectable families, could not be seen by ordinary men. This system is still current in remote places. The Sanskrit word Asurya Pashya indicates that a respectable lady could not be seen even by the sun. Asurya Pashya. In the Oriental culture, this system was very prevalent and was strictly observed by respectable ladies, both Hindu and Muslim. We have actual experience in our childhood that our mother would not walk even next door to observe an invitation. Rather, she would go in either a carriage or a palanquin carried by 4 men. This custom was also strictly followed 500 years ago, and the wife of Advaita Acharya, being a very respectable lady, observed the customary rules current in that social environment. So it is not that women were abused in our this thing. Oh, there was sati, there was child marriage, there was, you know, oh, male child birth is celebrated more than female. It's not that the women were like treated like animals. No, you see how much even men who don't go like that. Men were carrying the women. 4 men for 1 woman. Look at the. You know. But anyway, here it is said. This custom was also strictly followed 500 years ago, and the wife of Advaita Acharya, being a very respectable lady, observed the customary rules current in that social environment. So, in our social environment, we don't need to unnecessarily bring back a palanquin to carry the ladies. Um, Feminists would be very happy with that. But customary rules current in that social environment. That is fine. भक्ष्य भोज्य उपहार संगे लैल बहुभार शची गृहे हईल उपनीत देखिया बालक ठाम साक्षात गोकुल कान वर्ण मात्र देखी विपरीत. When Sita Thakurani came to the house of Sachi Devi, bringing with her many kinds of eatables, dresses, and other gifts, she was astonished to see the newborn child, for she appreciated that, except for a difference in color, the child was directly Krishna of Gokula himself. Purport. A petari is a kind of big basket that is carried in Paris. Huh? Pairs. Okay. Petari is a kind of big basket that is carried in pairs on the end of a rod balanced over the shoulders. Okay. Like that. And then one here and one there. Okay. The man who carries such a load is called a bhari. The system of carrying luggage and packages is still current in India and other Oriental countries, and we have seen that the same system is still current even in Jakarta, Indonesia. Okay, so he went to Indonesia and he saw that. सर्व अंग सुनिर्माण सुवर्ण प्रतिमा भान सर्व अंग सुलक्षणमय बालकेर दिव्य ज्योति देखि पायल बहु प्रीति वात्सल्यते द्रविल हृदय. Seeing the transcendental bodily effulgence of the child, each of his nicely constructed limbs full of auspicious signs and resembling the form of gold, Sita Thakurani was very pleased, and because of her maternal affection, she felt as if her heart were melting. दुर्वाधान्य दिल शीर्षे कोइल बहुआ शीशे चिरजीवी हो दुई भाई डाकिनी शंखिनी होइते शंका उपजिल चिते डरे नाम थुइलो निमाई. She blessed the newborn child by placing fresh grass and paddy on his head and saying, "May you be blessed with a long duration of life." But being afraid of ghosts and witches, she gave the child the name Nimai. Purport. Dakini and Shankini are two companions of Lord Shiva and his wife who are supposed to be extremely inauspicious, having been born of ghostly life. It is believed that such inauspicious living creatures cannot go near a neem tree. At least medically, it is accepted that neem wood is extremely antiseptic, and formerly it was customary to have a neem tree in front of one's house. On very large roads in India, especially in Uttar Pradesh, there are hundreds and thousands of neem trees. Neem wood is so antiseptic that the Ayurvedic science uses it to cure leprosy. Medical scientists have extracted the active principle of the neem tree, which is called margosic acid. Neem is used for many purposes, especially to brush the teeth. In Indian villages, 90% of the people use neem twigs for this purpose. Because of all the antiseptic effects of the neem tree and because Lord Chaitanya was born beneath the neem tree, Sita Thakurani gave the Lord the name Nimai. So the name Nimai came from Sita Thakurani. This is the story of how he achieved the word Nimai, the name Nimai. Later in his youth, he was celebrated as Nimai Pandit, and in the neighborhood villages, he was called by that name, although his real name was Vishvambhar. पुत्र माता स्नान दिने दिल वस्त्र विभूषणे पुत्र सह मिश्रेरे सम्मानी शची मिश्रेर पूजालया मनेते हन हन हरिष हैया घरे आइला सीता ठाकुरानी. On the day the mother and son bathed and left the maternity home, Sita Thakurani gave them all kinds of ornaments and garments and then also honored Jagannath Mishra. Then Sita Thakurani, being honored by Mother Shachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, was greatly happy within her mind, and thus she returned home. You see how much the affection was there between the ladies. Um, because somebody was born and so much affection. So, purport: on the fifth day from the birth of a child, as also on the ninth day, the mother bathes either in the Ganga or in another sacred place. This is called Nishkramana, or the ceremony of coming out of the maternity home. Nowadays, the maternity home is a hospital, but formerly, in every respectable house, one room was set aside as a maternity home where children would take birth. And on the ninth day after the birth of a child, the mother would come into the regular rooms in the ceremony called Nishkramana. Of the 10 purificatory processes, Nishkramana is one. Formerly, especially in Bengal, the higher castes observed 4 months after the birth of a child as a quarantine. At the end of the fourth month, the mother could see the sunrise. Look at that. Later, the higher castes, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, observed only 21 days as a quarantine, whereas the Shudras had to observe 30 days. Now, actually, I have experience of this with my mother. When my sister was born, we used to live in an ancestral home where my great grandmother was there, my grandmother, grandfather were there, and my father, our family, and my father's brother's family, all were staying in that one house, joint joint family house. So when my mother gave birth to my sister, I was 6 years old. When my brothers were born, I don't think all this was done, Nishkraman and all this, because we were in faraway place. But when my sister was born, it was back in Hyderabad, um, and there was this room in our house, and my mother was there for 21 days. We could not see her; she could not see us. So after 21 days, then we could see the mother and my sister. So for 21 days, they don't take bath also. Mother also does not take bath. So it is considered a contaminated period of time. Um, so there is a quarantine like that. And even the food, it is given under the, you know, door, under the door like that. And she will take inside. So in that way, it is done. So I also saw this 21 days. For the sections of society known as Karta Bhaja and Satima, the mother of the child was immediately purified after the quarantine by the throwing of harinuta, small pieces of sweetmeat, in Sankirtan. Hmm. Yeah, I wanted to say. Nowadays, um, there was one report or one news story. I don't know what video was that, where it's a Western country, and this family, it was so disgusting. I mean, so she gave birth. Of course, there is natural birth. People sometimes don't go to hospital. They sit in the tub of water, warm water or something like that, and they give birth to the child in the water. I mean, it's like a tub basically. They sit down into the tub and they labor there, and some midwife is there to help her out and all of that. Now that's one thing. But there was one incident which was shown in. I mean, there was a report on that. I don't know report or what. A few years ago, I saw this. So the mother was giving birth to the child. Okay. So obviously the lower part of the mother would be naked, right? And in that same water, the father is also there, and then other children of the mother also are there in the water celebrating. And after the child is born, the blood will all come out, and the whole thing is red, and it's not clean. And in that water, they were all playing. It's like a celebration for them, like a whole family. I was like, what is this? I mean, animals are better than this, probably. I don't know. It was. I mean, well, that is their culture. But whereas in Vedic culture, for 21 days, I could not see my mother at all. So Radhika Saki Mataji was saying, recently when we went to Ekachakra, we saw the maternity room of Hadai Pandit's house where Nityananda Prabhu was born. Hadai Pandit is his father. Hmm. Okay. So, um, For the sections of society known as Karta, Bhaja, and Satima, the mother of the child was immediately purified after the quarantine by the throwing of harinuta, small pieces of sweetmeat, in Sankirtan. Sachidevi and Jagannath Mishra with the newborn child were honored by Sita Thakurani. Similarly, while Sita Thakurani was returning home, she was also honored by Sachidevi and Jagannath Mishra. That was the system in respectable families of Bengal. See how, you know, how closely they were, you know, the friendship was not just like fragile and superficial. No, it was very deep, very deep. ऐछ सचे जगन्नाथ पुत्र पाया लक्ष्मीनाथ पूर्ण हईल सकल वांछित धन धान्य भरे घर लोकमान्य कलेवर दिने दिने होय आनंदित. In this way, Mother Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, having obtained a son who was the husband of the goddess of fortune, had all their desires fulfilled. Their house was always filled with riches and grains. As they saw the beloved body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, day after day their pleasure increased. Purport: Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore everyone offered respects to him. Even the denizens of heaven used to come in the dress of ordinary men to offer their respect to the Lord. His father and mother Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, seeing the honor of their transcendental son, also became very pleased within their hearts. मिश्र वैष्णव शांत अलंपट शुद्ध दांत धन भोगे नाहि अभिमान पुत्रेर प्रभावे जत धन आसि मिले तत विष्णु प्रीते द्विजे देन दान. Jagannath Mishra was an ideal Vaishnava. He was peaceful, restrained in sense gratification, pure and controlled. Therefore, he had no desire to enjoy material opulence. Whatever money came because of the influence of his transcendental son, he gave it in charity to the Brahmanas for the satisfaction of Vishnu. लग्नगणे हर्षमती नीलांबर चक्रवर्ती गुप्ते किछु कहिल मिश्रेरे महापुरुषेर चिह्न लग्ने अंगे भिन्न भिन्न देखिए तारिबे संसारे. After calculating the birth moment of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nilambar Chakravarti privately said to Jagannath Mishra that he saw all the different symptoms of a great personality in both the body and birth moment of the child. Thus, he understood that in the future this child would deliver all the three worlds. Purushera Chihna. Chihna means the bodily symptoms. And Mahapurusher Chihna. All the symptoms of a great personality. Lagna. So, all these are. So, this is a great science, which the modern science does not know. So, the science of not only astrology but also of what is that word? There is a word for this, where they find out about a person by looking at his bodily features. What is it called? Can somebody help me out with that? Just like horoscope or astrology is science of this astrological influences of planets, there is another science of the bodily features, marks and all these things, and to predict the future of the person. Phrenology doesn't ring a bell. Phrenology. What is phrenology? Is a process observing a feeling the skull to determine the individual psychological. Definitely not. It's something else. The science of the study of bodily features, something like that. If you search, maybe you will get it. um, and their meaning, bodily features and their meaning, something like that. ঐছে প্রভু সচি ঘরে কৃপায় কইল অবতারে যে ইহা করে শ্রবণ গৌর প্রভু দয়াময় তারে হয়েন সদয় সেই পায় তাহার চরণ. Physiognomy, I think that rings a bell. Physiognomy, probably, I think that's the word. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his causeless mercy, made his advent in the house of Sachi Devi. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful to anyone who hears this narration of his birth, and thus such a person attains the lotus feet of the Lord. So we are all fortunate to have heard today.
Physiognomy.
Physiognomy. Okay. A person's facial features or expression, especially when regarded as indicative of character or ethnic origin. Only face. Okay. Anything to do with the whole body, not just the face? Okay. What else we have? Okay. পাইয়া মানুষ জন্ম যে না শুনে গৌর গুণ হেন জন্ম তার ব্যর্থ হইল পাইয়া অমৃত ধুনি পিয়ে বিষ গর্ত পানি জন্মিয়া সে কেন নাহি মইল. Wow. Anyone who attains a human body but does not take to the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is baffled in his opportunity. Amrita Dhuni is a flowing river of the nectar of devotional service. If after getting a human body one drinks the water in a poison pit of material happiness instead of the water of such a river, it would be better for him not to have lived but to have died long ago. Beautiful. Beautiful. मनुष्य जन्म पाया राधा कृष्ण ना भजिया जानिया सुनिया विष खाइनो. So that is a song. Here also this is very similar to that. পাইয়া মানুষ জন্ম যে না শুনে গৌর গুণ হেন জন্ম তার ব্যর্থ হইল পাইয়া অমৃত ধুনি পিয়ে বিষ গর্ত পানি জন্মিয়া সে কেনে নাহি মইল. Personology. Physiognomy is the practice of assessing a person's character or personality from their outer appearance, especially the face. Interesting. What is personology? I've never heard of that. Physiognomy I have heard. But what is personology? Is there such a word? I think it's something, I don't know. Not really. No, not personology. I think chirology is a study of hands. I thought that is called palmistry. Palmistry, I thought. Palmistry is the study of, not just study of hands. We're not talking about biological study of hands. We're talking about looking at the hands and interpreting it to be something of the that reflects the character of a person. Oh, nature of future events. Okay, so that's what chirology is. That how it sounds like chiropractor, something to do with the back. I don't know, but I know palmistry. Palmistry is that. Maybe chirology is a synonym. Maybe this verse I think is worth remembering. There are a few verses actually here. पाइया मनुष्य जन्म जेना सुने गौरगुण हेन जन्म तार व्यर्थ होइल पाइया अमृत धुनि पिय विष गर्त पानी जन्मिया से केना नाही माइल. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Acharya Advaita Chandra Swarupa Rupa Raghunath Dasa Ihan Sabar Shri Charana Shire Vandi Nijadhana Janma Leela Gaila Krishna Dasa. Taking on my head as my own property the lotus feet of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu Acharya Advaita Chandra Swarup Damodar Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, I Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami have thus described the advent of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dimitri is saying what? Palm reading is the practice of fortune telling through the study of the palm, also known as palm reading, chiromancy, chirology, and chairology. Okay. I know Vastu is called geomancy. This is called chiromancy. Okay. Psychodiagnostic chirology. There's a purport here, but Dimitri is saying 429.63. Okay, we'll go to 429.63. What is that? And then we'll come back to the purport here. 429.63. यथानुमीयते चित्तम् उभयैरिन्द्रिये हितैः एवं प्राग्देहजं कर्म लक्ष्यते चित्तवृत्तिभिः. One can understand the mental or conscious position of a living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life. So, actually, this is not exactly the same, but this is by the behavior of such a person. So, one can understand the mental and or conscious position of a living entity with activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. This is not exactly like chiromancy or palmistry or things like that. Wow, what kind of words is this? What is that? Dermatoglyphics. Dermatoglyphics. Okay. Enough. So, this is actually according to his activities, like what he hears, what kind of topics he hears, what kind of food he eats, what kind of what kind of topics he talks about, or where he goes. So these are the activities of the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses, Gyanendriya and Karmendriya. 5 knowledge acquiring senses and the 5 working senses or executive senses. So that is what is mentioned here. This is different from what we are discussing though. But yeah, I wanted to actually know this verse. I always wanted to find it, but today I found it. So thank you very much. Okay, so I think that's the end of the chapter, but we have to read the purport. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das, and their followers are all accepted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Kaviraj Goswami also accepts the lotus feet of the above mentioned lords as his personal property. For a materialistic person, material wealth and opulence are only illusory. Actually, they are not possessions but entanglements, because by enjoying the material world, a conditioned soul becomes more and more entangled by incurring debts for his personal enjoyment. Unfortunately, a conditioned soul considers property for which he is in debt to be his own. That's true. They say, "Oh, I bought a house, I bought a apartment, I bought an apartment." But have you really bought it, or are you paying the debt for it? So many times, oftentimes it is actually purchased on debt. So it's not even his own actually, in the right sense of the, in the strict sense of the term. You know. Unfortunately, a conditioned soul considers property for which he is in debt to be his own, and he is very busy acquiring such property. But a devotee considers such property not real property, but simply an entanglement in the material world. It is so true. So true. If Lord Krishna is very pleased with a devotee, he takes away his material property, as he states in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.88.8. Yasyaham anugrahanami harishetad dhanam shanaihi. To show special favor to a devotee, I take away all his material property. Similarly, Narottam Das Thakur says, Dhana mora nityananda Radha Krishna Shri Charana Shay mora prana dhana. Need to find this song. Need to sing this song. My real riches are Nityananda Prabhu and the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. He further prays, O Lord, kindly give me this opulence. Kindly give me this opulence. I do not want anything but your lotus feet as my property. Unquote. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in many places that his real property is the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Unfortunately, we are interested in unreal property and are neglecting our real property. Adhane jatana kare dhana tyagino. Um, I think this is by Vidyapati, that song. Tatala Shaikate, I think. Sometimes Marthas consider Raghunath Das Goswami a Shudra, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami here especially mentions Vishvarupa Raghunath Das. Therefore, one who considers the lotus feet of Raghunath Das to be transcendental to all divisions of caste system enjoys the riches of actual spiritual bliss. Vaishnava Jata Buddhi. That is an offense. One goes to hell for that. To consider the Vaishnava as part of some social caste. And with thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila 13th chapter describing the advent of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. जय श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय. श्री चैतन्य गौर पूर्णिमा की जय. I think there is a Gaur Purnima verse, right, in this chapter. What was that number? Any questions or comments on this topic, please let me know while I search for this verse. What was that verse number? Offering obeisances to the Gaur Purnima itself, the appearance day of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the one. सर्वसद्गुणपूर्णां तां वन्दे फाल्गुणपूर्णिमां यस्यां श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यो वतीर्णः कृष्णनामभिः. I offer my respectful obeisances under the full moon evening in the month of Phalguna, an auspicious time full of auspicious symptoms, when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advented himself with the chanting of the holy name Hare Kṛṣṇa. This is a beautiful verse. I think it should be memorized. I will try. This is the verse for Gaura Purnima. Beautiful verse. So Radhika Sakhi Mataji is saying, someone asked me a question that day. Since Srimad Bhagavatam mentions that God doesn't assert himself in Kali Yuga, how do we know Lord Chaitanya's avatar? Like Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.31 doesn't mention his name. So the question is, could it be anyone else? So that is extensively investigated in that Adalila second chapter. Why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So he doesn't assert himself, but if you see 11.5.32, Krishnavarnam Tvasha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yajnaihi Sankirtana Praya Yajantihi Sumedasa. And in fact, I have done that one whole lecture on all the Shastric evidence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. So there is no mistake in that. Could it be anybody else? No, it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's nobody else who fits that description. In fact, there are much more direct ones as well. Hmm. In fact, even 11,532 is a direct one. Of course, his name is not mentioned, but his mission is mentioned. What he does is mentioned. That's already done, and there are numerous other um, Shastric references. I think there is a whole video, a lecture I did on that. I also would want to go and brush up on those references. But yeah, it is all there. So many we collected and quoted on that day. Why he taking away? Because the devotee is not strong to keep devotion to Krishna in presence of materialistic properties. So Krishna helping in that way. What it means? Yes. 1088 8. Actually, it's 8, 9, and 10. All three together you have to read. Then you will understand. And then after that, I'll show another verse as well. श्रीभगवानुवाच यस्याहम् अनुगृह्णामि हरिष्ये तद्धनं शनैः ततो धनं त्यजन्त्यस्य स्वजना दुःखदुःखितम्. The personality of God, it said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. स यदा वितथोद्योगो निर्विण्णः स्यात् धने हया मत्परैः कृतमैत्रस्य करिष्ये मदनुग्रहम्. When he becomes frustrated in his attempts to make money. So when he loses everything, he will try many times to make money again. And then Krishna will frustrate him in all those attempts. And instead, then he befriends my devotees. I will bestow. When he befriends my devotees, I bestow my special mercy upon him. Tad brahma paramam sukshmam chinmatram sadanantakam vijnayatmataya dhira samsarat parimuchyate. A person who has thus become sober fully realizes the absolute as the highest truth, the most subtle and perfect manifestation of spirit, the transcendental existence without end. In this way, realizing that the supreme truth is the foundation of his own existence, he is freed from the cycle of material life. Okay, so another verse is there. Sudama is saying this, 1081:37. भक्ताय चित्रा भगवान् हि सम्पदो राज्यं विभूतिर्न समर्थ्य राज्यं विभूतिर्न समर्थयत्यजः अदीर्घबोधाय विचक्षणः स्वयं पश्यन्निपातं धनिनां मदोद्भवम्. To a devotee who lacks spiritual insight, that means who's not very advanced, doesn't have very deep insight in spiritual life, the Supreme Lord will not grant the wonderful opulences of this world, kingly power, and material assets. Indeed, in his infinite wisdom, the unborn Lord well knows how the intoxication of pride can cause the downfall of the wealthy. So, to protect him from falling down, he will not give him. In fact, he will take away. जन्म कर्म वयो रूप विद्यैश्वर्य धनादिभिः यद्यस्य न भवेत् स्तम्भस्तत्रायं मदनुग्रहः. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or a higher status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education, and good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, like Sudama Vipra, he was so um, great devotee that Krishna personally washed his feet, and Lakshmi was fanning him. But he was in a very poverty-stricken condition, and he did not even ask anything. And when he got everything, he still did not lose himself. It was as fixed as ever. Then it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because we are not on that stage, so Krishna will take away our wealth. If we are becoming more serious, then we will take away our wealth. We ourselves will become disinterested in that. And there's nothing to be scared about. Krishna takes away useless wealth and gives you the real wealth. So, all right. So, is there anything else? Oh, somebody saying I'm a fraud. Okay, I know I am. Thank you for reminding me, though. Hmm. Hmm. Manudas, will Lord Kalki have the same auspicious reception like Lord Chaitanya, or will it be like appearance of Sri Krishna in the prison house? He'll be born to a Brahmana, and the Brahmana's name will be Vishnu Yasha. That means you can imagine the Brahmanas will be there even at the end of Kali Yuga, but they will not be prominent. They will almost be completely hidden from society. Not many people will know much about them. That's, but I don't know. I don't. There's nothing mentioned that he will be born in a prison house, but I don't know. Prabhuji, as Sita Thakurani's affection towards Sachimata, womanly affection between two, was not fragile and superficial. This kind of affection we should only have on devotees or anyone. Devotees. You see, that's the nectar of instruction verse, no? Dadati pratigrahanati guhyam akhyati pritchati bhunkte bhojayate chaiva shadvidha priti lakshanam. Priti lakshanam. This priti, strong affection, is characterized by these six activities. Dadati pratigrahanati, giving gifts and accepting gifts, and sharing confidential things, openly, and inquiring confidential subject matters, about advancement of spiritual life, these things, deeper topics. And then bhunkte bhojate chaiva, accepting prasad and offering prasad. So these are symptoms of preeti, and we should cultivate them with devotees. Of course, we can always give prasad to outsiders and try to make them devotees, but we cannot have intimate dealings with them. That will become problematic, because then we will not be able to say no to some things which they want to do for us. And then if we say no, then we automatically there will be distance within us. Such close friendship between Sita Thakurani and Sachimata was possible because both are devotees, both have the same frequency, same understanding, everything. But if suppose that non-devotee, if she wants to be friend with you, and she cooks something and wants to give you, you say, no, I cannot eat in your house. I cannot eat your cooked food. That's it. That is the end of the friendship. Or at least there will be some distance. You know, you can. So we have to deal with them. Such people who are not devotees, we have to deal with them out of compassion, out of helping them. We can be. It's not that I should be. Hey, you're not devotee, rascal, get out. That's not what we should do. Instead, you can say that no, you don't cook, I will cook. And if she wants to cook, then you have to explain to them, I would really want to eat your food, provided you're devotee. Please become devotee now. Like that. In a loving way, in a different way. Depends on person to person. We have to make her a devotee. So in that way we can be friendly and make her a devotee. And in that way, you know, that preeti can go on. But if they're not interested, then we should not maintain close relations with them. We should maintain superficial cordial relation, but not intimate. When Balramji comes in the heart of a devotee who may not be serious in wanting to fully change or drop material attachments, all these material opulences are taken away by Krishna's mercy, correct? Well, I don't know the question what you're asking. When Balramji comes in the heart of a devotee who may not be serious in wanting to fully change or drop material attachments, all these material opulence are taken away by Krishna's mercy. Oh, okay. Um, See, Balaram's mercy will be available to us in proportion to our adherence to the sadhana. Spiritual strength we will get if we follow the sadhana, the rules and regulations strictly. Proportionately, we will get our spiritual strength. Balaram will bless us with the spiritual strength. So, Balaramji doesn't come in the heart of a person, first of all, who's not serious. But anyway, Balaram, Krishna, these are more technical, but overall, everything is Krishna, we can say. So yeah, if he's not so spiritually strong, if maybe he wants to become a devotee, but he's also distracted by material opulence, then Krishna is mercifully he will take over the material opulence so that his focus can remain on Krishna. So that's the point. Yeah. Actually, that makes sense. If you are intimate with outsiders, it makes it hard to say no when they offer gifts. Yeah, not only gifts, food. And what are the intimate topics would you discuss with such people? To satisfy him, you have to talk all rubbish and waste your time. So you are also not happy doing that. Or if you're not spiritually strong, you may be happy in doing that and get influenced by him and you become a materialist. That is a big danger here. So I will become a materialist like him. I'll think like him. You know, that's another problem. You know. So we have to protect ourselves first. Hmm? Yeah, as Dimitri said, we should give them our association, not take theirs. So for that we have to be strong. The iron rod, when it is kept in fire for long enough, then it will become as good as fire, and wherever you touch, it will burn. But you keep on touching and keep on touching and keep on, after some time, the iron rod will cool down and it will not burn anything. So that's why you have to again come back to the fire, burn, become red hot, and again go and touch, and then it will act again. So, in other words, if we just excessively only deal with outsiders, non devotees, then eventually we will forget our own this thing. So, we have to keep our sadhana, our association with devotees intact. Repeatedly come back, get charged up, go there and preach, and then come back charged up, go there and preach like that. Of course, a pure devotee, he's always charged, and he can alone. Prabhupada went and delivered the whole world. But if you go alone, we will disappear into oblivion somewhere. Okay, so what is that? We should not reveal mind to non-devotees, right? What are you going to get if you reveal mind to non-devotees? What is the benefit? He will think, he or she will think, hmm, this person has problems even though devotee, so I better what is the value of being a devotee? They'll have different perceptions. So yeah, not should not reveal mind to non-devotee. Second class devotee, he distinguishes how to deal with different people. So with the non-devotees, he should be compassionate. If they're atheistic, just ignore them. If they're devotees, maintain friendship, and with the Lord, develop love. And within devotees also, senior devotees, same or initiated devotees, or one who's not initiated yet. So there is again demarcation on how we should deal with them, each of them. That is Nectar of Instruction, verse 5. So these are there. Okay, so I think I'll stop it there. Thank you very much. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Gaur Purnima ki jai. हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद, हरि हरि बोल। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण।